Okay, thanks for joining our session. We're going to start in about 20 seconds. Just going to wait for a few more people to come on. I will mention that this is going to be recorded, and this session is going to be put inside the online engagement, which I'll be leading to later on in this presentation. I'm joined here by Daryl Drumheller, who is your Chief Administrative Officer, as well as Mauricio Reyes, who is your Director of Corporate Services. We also have on the line Erica and Brett, who are going to be helping out. They're on the communication side over it, but just for the presentations bit will be Daryl, Mauricio, and myself. All right, and I think we are going to get going. The flow of this session will be Daryl, who will be giving a few introductory words, starting off just after myself in introduction. Mauricio will be doing a short presentation on property taxes. I'm going to be doing a quick overview of the engagement process, how it looks online, how to navigate it, and I hope that you'll be inspired to participate. Please post questions throughout. There is a chat box, and we will field your questions accordingly, and we aim to be finishing within 30 minutes. And with that, I will pass the key over to Daryl.
Great, thanks very much, Bradley. So welcome everyone to our first online webinar on budget preparation and consultation. So just a little bit of understanding about what we do with property taxes. A lot of our property taxes that we pay are for services that we expect and we love in our community, and there are some of them that are non-discretionary and some that are discretionary. And really, what we're trying to do is just talk to the public about how we can actually make what we're collecting something that's usable for the community as a whole. And I know that sometimes people have very specific needs about what they think is important in their portion of the community, and we have to. Our job is to balance that with the entire needs. A couple little tidbits. Our annual budget's about $16 million, and that's for everything from fire protection, police services, recreation, infrastructure, which includes parks and open spaces, as well as community planning, events, and general administration. So we really run the gamut of an operation. So we're not, it's not super specific. It's very much municipal government is very interesting with respect to the variety that we have. So we are talking today about operating budgets, so not capital budgets. So I think a lot of the things that people expect, so when we're redoing your street or when we're putting a new water main in, those aren't operating budget items, those are capital budgets. So that's where you're putting money away in a savings account for using and then returning that, removing that money later on for you to actually do work on. So a great example of that is our flood mitigation project. So it's $55 million worth of work. It's going to happen over multiple years, and that is put from multiple grants as well as town capital contributions. So that's a great example of something that doesn't happen on an operating standpoint. Looking after it afterwards, the cutting of the grass and plowing of the trails and stuff like that, that's an operating piece of it. So this is our second year that we've done this with Ethelo. Last year was, of course, because of COVID, it was very interesting, very much online. It was a really interesting process. I think we all learned a lot from it, and then we're really looking forward to being able to see what kind of engagement we can get from the public this year to help us provide the best services we can to the community. And with that, I'm going to turn that back to Brad.
Thanks so much, Daryl. And yeah, I really appreciate that you encourage all residents to be participating in this process. It's from my perspective, I used to manage a credit union. I was very involved in the city's works. Used to go to all city council meetings every time I could, very interested in, and the most important sessions were always the budget, because everything comes out of the budget. Regardless of what department or sector or how you're involved with the city, the budget is what dictates what happens. And so for residents to understand how the budget process works and the importance of giving their feedback as to where they'd like to have their money allocated is just an extremely important part of it. So I'm going to pass, at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Mauricio, who's going to do a little presentation about property taxes and how that works.
Thank you, Brad. Good morning, everyone. Property taxes. Property taxes is something that touches everyone in one way or another. For most people, it is a payment that they make to the municipality either once a year, or if they are paying monthly, they basically do monthly contributions to the property tax pool. For 2022, we want the public to be engaged, but we want to give a little more information on property taxes, what it is and how it works. So basically, a property tax, like the name says, is a tax on land or land improvements. So land obviously is pretty self-explanatory what it is. When it comes to improvements, it can be anything from a house, it can be a commercial building, it can be a parking lot, or it can be a driveway. Those are all improvements, but also other things like fences and any kind of infrastructure around the property would be considered an improvement. All taxes are used, sorry, can you go back to the previous slide? All taxes are calculated based on the assessed value of the property. So the more it is added to the property, the higher the assessed value. Therefore, taxes will end up being higher than before something was added to the property. An example of that would be if an additional building is constructed in the backyard, and that's a garage that is used to store anything of value, that would increase the value of the property, and therefore the taxes associated with the property. When it comes to rates, basically we look at all the properties. We look at the needs of the municipality, and we say how much does the municipality need to run the services that Daryl was mentioning about, like snow removal, providing park services, recreation, any service that the municipality provides needs to be accounted for, and we need to determine how much we are going to need to run those services. And based on our tax assessment of all the properties, that's how we determine the rates. They change every year. Obviously, one year it can be lower, one year can be higher, depending on assessment values and the needs of the property. Next slide, please. So what is the difference between an operational budget and a capital budget? As Daryl was mentioning, we are mainly talking about operational budget today, but there is a difference between operational and capital budget. Operational budget is basically any activities that we do on a daily basis fall within operations, such as I mentioned, snow removal, providing services in the recreational area, providing social programs to the community. Anything in that measure would be considered operating. Anything such as building a new arena, for example, would be capital. Building a new road, even rehabilitation for roads would be considered capital. Those things typically take place every few years, while operational expenses take place every year, and in most cases, every day or once a month. Next slide, please. So basically, as I was saying, when we collect property taxes, we take a look at the needs of the municipality. What kind of services do we provide? What level of service do we provide? Do we want to maintain those level of service, or do we want to increase them or decrease them? Depending on what decisions are made at the municipal level, at the council level, taxes can either go up or down, but there is also other factors that influence property taxes, such as inflation. We are all hearing about inflation these days, And we know that in the long run, prices go up, and there is not a whole lot we can do about it. When it comes to the prices of the things that we buy, we need to buy utilities, we need to buy supplies, we need to buy other things, and the prices of those things go up. So in most cases, the needs of the municipality will also be influenced by that. But basically, property taxes will provide all the municipal services that we provide, and municipalities provide dozens of services, and in some cases, it can be in the hundreds of services, depending on how a service is defined. And some examples would be economic development, parks, protective services. So RTMP, for example, all the services that the RTMP provides are mostly funded from municipal property taxes. Garbage collection is another example in the case of Drumheller. In some municipalities, it is paid separately under utilities. In Drumheller, it's covered by property taxes. Next slide, please. And basically, an average property of 275,000 would roughly pay $3,200 a month. But if you $3,200 a year, or $272.67 a month. And in exchange for that payment, what the community is getting is all the services that you see in the middle column. So as I was mentioning, I mentioned snow removal, I mentioned policing, even library is being funded mostly from municipal taxes. Anything that has to do with tourism, animal control, playgrounds, a lot of those services are funded from those taxes that we collect. And if you take a look at how that compares to other expenses that a normal household would have, basically you can see on the right-hand side that $271 a month can buy you heating and power, or perhaps it can buy you your insurance for your home or your vehicle. Depending on the price of a car, it can be a car payment. It can be going to a hockey game, and some other things. So as you can see, there is a lot of value on that the community gets from those municipal taxes. And now I'll turn it over back to Brad.
Great, great. Thanks, Mauricio. Joy of property taxes and how it's split up. All right. I'm going to do a little quick walkthrough of what the engagement is, how it looks like. It's going to be pretty quick. I encourage everyone to go online and participate yourself. And it's a pretty easy process to follow. It works as a journey experience. So we're just going to go from page to page to page in that order. And you can go relatively quickly in terms of being able to go over the engagement, or you can really geek out if you want and spend time and kind of really dive into it, into the comments and the background links. It's up to you. We'll post the URL into the chat box here, and it's also going to be posted on the city websites and various places you can find it. It's up at the top here, Drumheller Valley 2022.ethelo.net. And when you go there, you're going to find a nice welcoming page. It's going to start off like this. You could either register, or you can proceed as a guest, and that means that your comments and such remain anonymous. There's a couple of pages on how to participate. And the video, actually, images work pretty fast when you go online. It's going to be a little delayed here because of the video that I've got running. Otherwise, I'm going to learn here how to participate. I'm going to click in next. We have this pledge of civility. Would you be comfortable with your grandmother or toddler hearing this comment? Now, people are generally very, very civil, and they give very, educational, informative, thoughtful comments. We just make sure that you keep that in mind as you go through this engagement. So you're going to click yes here, agree to the terms, and be nice and kind. Going to move forward. This is the property tax breakdown. Now, in this engagement, how we've set it up, it's not going to be all the departments that are put. Instead, we've kind of put together some departments in various groupings. So it's not going to look exactly the way Mauricio did in his presentation, but I'm going to put in my property taxes here at the top. Let's say I'm 275,000 is my house. Submit this, and it's going to adjust how my breakdown, slightly adjust because I only went from 200,000. It's going to slightly adjust where these different money is allocated, and that personalizes the experience for me. So as I go through these sections, I'm going into the first section here, which is general government. It's going to include these sections here, and this is because of how I said my house was valued. This is the property taxes that I'm paying for this grouping of departments, and I could say I want to keep it the same. I could go up, I could go down. And as I go up and down, these are impact statements. So this would indicate roughly what would be happening as I want to increase my spending to this department or decrease it. On the right-hand side, we're seeing how my ideal budget is coming along. You can make comments. You make your comments public or private, see more comments. Really nice way to see what other people are thinking. Add your own thoughts. Next, I'm going to move to public works and transportation. Again, yeah, I can read a little bit of background here. Make a vote on how I would like to see things go up, increase it, or decrease it. So I might go up, and I'm going to get out of budget here. You're going to see this on the right-hand side. So thing about the budgets is that if I really want more of one thing, I'm going to have to make concessions somewhere else. You can click on anywhere where it has learn more. You can click on more information. I'm just going to go quickly through the budget here. I'm just randomly picking if I would like to see an increase or decrease. Economic development. I just want to get to the final few slides. Don't let my voting influence your preferences as you go through your engagement. And again here, maybe I want to keep this one the same. And my last section here is protective services. So I'm going to read here. And I would mention that if you have any questions along the way, we're going to go to a Q&A period as soon as I'm done, which is going to be in about 3 or 4 minutes. So please post your questions. So I've gone to the last one. Maybe I'll go a little bit more and see if that takes me out of budget. Not too sure if it will. Probably not. I can see here the summary of how I would spend. Now I can go back and change my votes anytime, which would be fine, but I could see, I might say this looks perfect for me. The next page when I click next, and again, I would mention that you could do this on a desktop, works great on mobile as well. The next one is about you. It's really important for council and staff to know that there's a representative sample coming from the population. So this just makes sure that everything's on the up and up, that a nice, diverse, a large and diverse enough group has been represented. And of course, this information can be analyzed by doing like a subgroup analysis by seeing how people voted into different areas. I'm going to go through. Now, if I was over budget, then there's a nifty little auto budget tool, or if I was under budget. And if I click this auto balance tool, it's going to take the minimum amount of tweaks necessary. So it's the minimum amount of tweaks in order to balance the budget. Now, council has to pass a balanced budget. So if you wanted to make yours balanced, but you don't want to get, I don't know, frustrated on going back and figuring out what you need to decrease and increase, you can definitely do that manually, or you can hit the auto balance tool. It would make small little tweaks here so that everything's on the up and up within a small variation of being balanced. This next slide is about making trade-offs. And so this is like, which areas do you really want to protect the funding and which ones are less important? So if I were to say, general government's fairly important, public works, I'm just going to randomly do things here. Let's see, where was one that I did which was keeping the same? So if I did the same on here, funding protective services, funding garbage, I said keep the same. I could put that at 100%. Now, in my example, I might say, I don't necessarily want the funding to go up, but I think it's extremely important. And I don't necessarily think that they need more money, but they definitely don't need less money. So don't make changes to this one. So it's just another way that council and staff can see the importance of what residents have to say. And for you, it's another lever that you get to. I think I'm totally happy with it. It's another lever that you get to put in Now, I'm not going to show you the collective results on how things are coming along with this year, but I will show you for last year. The reason is that I want to skew what your preferences might be. So this was for last year. I'm going to get into the group results. And in this example, the platform has analyzed 50,000 different ways of organizing the budget. And last year it found one that gave a 96% approval. So this is consensus building. I call it the highest common denominator. This is a visual representation of how people vote. Every time you vote, and every new person that votes is going to be altering what this ideal scenario looks like. Now, this is, again, taken for council to consider. Doesn't mean they're going to take this exactly verbatim as how it looks, but it does go into the consideration. Council can also go through, and you can, all different scenarios and look at them. This is just listed as the one at the highest level approval. And the 96% means that people might say, well, might not be exactly what I wanted. You know, I got some things that I wanted. I had to make some trade-offs. It's what the community wants, but I feel good enough to give it my approval. Like, I would approve what this budget would look like. Up until now, it was all about me. Now it's about the community. And this was my current tax bill. It's going to go down a little bit. So this is what my new adjusted tax bill would look like. And I can see the weightings of what the community would collectively approve. If all people voted, or if everyone who voted with a collective voice, one voice, this is what the budget scenario would look like. So that's just a quick run through about how the platform works. What's most important is your opinion. So please get in and do the budget yourself. There is a link that we just posted on there. And from there, I'm going to go into the questions. A couple have come in. The first question is, how does Drumheller compare to similar communities regarding our property taxes? And Daryl, can I send that to you?
Sure can. So I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that this isn't a quick yes or no answer. So Drumheller is pretty comparable to other communities. Now, one of the differences we have is that we are the largest town geographically in the province. So by area, we are, so if I know Strathmore is a good comparator. So Strathmore is about 15,000 population, so almost double what Drumheller has, yet their size of their community is about 1/3 the size of Drumheller geographically. So we have to plow snow in a much wider range. We go and cut grass, and so some of our services just cost more as a result of that. But so, you know, if you're going to compare us to a Calgary or an Edmonton, you know, where there's a great number of residents to take the costs, we aren't comparable. If we're comparing ourselves to places like Black Falls, Hanna, Stettler, we're very much in the middle of all of those communities. So.
Thanks, Daryl. Second question, Mauricio, I'm going to send this over to you. The town of Drumheller did not increase taxes last year. How will inflation impact operating costs?
Thank you, Brad, and thank you for the question that was submitted. It is a very important question for all of us to ask. Inflation happens every year. In the past year, inflation has been fairly low. I would say it's been under the 2%. So basically, what it would mean is that all prices go up by around 2%, right? But we know that that's not really the case, that there are things that become more expensive and certain things really don't change much in price. In the case of Drumheller, there are things that would affect the cost of the goods that we purchase. And that's our location, because we are located an hour away from Calgary. There is some transportation costs that need to be incurred to purchase certain goods or to get certain services. In the case of some of the contractors, they have to travel, so we have to pay those costs. we are expecting inflation to have a more pronounced impact, I would say, in 2021 due to the pandemic and disruptions in the supply chain. So compared to other years, we will expect inflation to be higher. As we know, 0% was the tax rate increase in 2021. So when we compare revenue and we compare expenses, we can say that revenue stayed the same while expenses increased. What it means is either a smaller debt surplus for the municipality at the end of the year, or higher deficit, depending on where we end up at the end of the year. So it does have a financial impact at the end of the day.
I think to add to
Perfect.
Mauricio's comment, Brad, one of the things that it's not a very good thing, but the COVID actually, for a lot of municipalities last year, whether it's Drumheller or Calgary or places in between, there was a lot of cost savings because facilities were closed, like especially on the recreation side. So, you know, our ability to hold our costs at a 0% tax increase were largely based that we didn't have some of the large expenditures. And in 2021, I think in 2022, you know, our thought is that we're going to look to sort of some sort of normalcy of it, and so we would expect to be, you know, we don't know where we're looking at. You know, we try to do zero-based budgeting, which means we're trying not to work at a 2% or a 3% or 1% increase off the bat, but you know, we're probably going to see a small increase for sure, just based on inflation, because we are seeing costs going up across the board with respect to gas, electricity, things like that. So
Yeah, no doubt. Good insights. And with the cities that I've been working with kind of since the pandemic started, smaller communities have definitely weathered better in terms of revenue than the large municipalities. So I'm glad to hear that Drumheller's in good shape, but you never know what's going to happen in these uncertain times from one year to the next. But I'm glad that you're keeping a close eye on things. There isn't any more questions. If there's anything else, this is the last chance to send something in. Otherwise, we are 1 minute ahead of schedule, and we will wrap up. Again, this recording has been recorded, and we'll post it inside the live engagement itself. Mauricio, Daryl, was there any last comments, or are you fine to let things go at this point?
You know, again, I'd like to thank everyone who's participating. I think it's a really great tool. You know, we're really excited about using it and being able to demonstrate it to council, especially with the new council in place. So yeah, we really want people to participate and tell us their thoughts of it. You know, and I think one of the things that people have told me when they've done this exercise is that they had no idea how complicated budgeting was for a municipality, right? Because you don't get to choose things like, you know, not having electricity for your buildings, or you know, not having, you know, you can vary the amount of staff, but you still need to have staff. And so there are pluses and minuses that, yeah, I think people will appreciate it a little bit more. And so, but I'm really encouraged to see the people that have participated this year as the ones that did last year. So keep it going.
Great, thanks, Daryl. Mauricio, is there anything else you'd like to add, or are we good at this point?
I don't think I have anything more to add to what Daryl said. The only thing is we are doing our best to present a budget that would reflect service levels that the community wants, and to council, and we are working diligently on doing that.
All right, Mauricio, thanks so much. Thanks for your presentation. Thanks for your thoughts. Daryl, likewise, thanks for participating. I think it's great when we get the powers that be to come in and talk a little bit about the process. Again, my background was finance, so I've got a personal kind of interest in seeing, you know, kind of in the budgeting exercise and in itself. But I took the job with Ethelo because of how much I value public input, consensus building. I think that residents to be involved and to have your say builds stronger communities, better decisions are made better collectively as more people give their input on things. So I just encourage that all Drumhellians, is that the right word that I say? Residents come in and do participate and have their say. And I really appreciate it. Again, the engagement is found on the city website, the social links, and on the link that we shared. With that, thank you very much for participating. And Erica, Brett, thank you as well for helping out in this session. Okay, have a great day.